last week we introduced the MAP podcast Power Rankings, where we list the top 10 games of 2021. We're in 2021, right?
We are.
Yes. So the top 10 games of 2021, and we constantly update those as the year goes on. So we have 2 games that we think may be contenders. We're not ready to make the judgment call yet because we like to run through the whole game, and I want to take my time. I want to enjoy myself. Matter of fact, let me just go into the game that I'm supposed to be talking about.
Okay.
Deathloop, the latest game from Bethesda Software and Arcane Studios. You probably know them. They made Dishonored 1 and 2 and Prey. And knowing that ahead of time, I thought I was not going to be a big fan because I am one of the few gamers that did not like Dishonored or Prey. I'm not a big fan of this. I don't like. So let me reveal this before don't turn the channel, please.
Turn off his mic.
Don't go away.
Having technical difficulties.
Don't go. I don't like stealth games. So it takes a game. It takes a very special game to have stealth element, and for me to be, because I'm not patient. If you have not learned that about me yet, I am not a patient person. So I don't want to I don't like going to maps.
But you played 12 minutes.
That's a good point.
Brought that up because someone in the chat asked, "Is 12 minutes one of the contenders?"
They are not. It is very much did not make the list. But
so there you go, Blue Lurk.
So yeah, I'm just not a big fan. That's why I give Hino a bunch of crap because he really likes the Metal Gear franchise, and I'm not a big fan of Metal Gear.
Okay. I can't sit next to you.
I don't.
Not okay.
That is just. It's not my. I don't like to plan ahead. I don't like to look and learn. I'm upsetting the whole universe. Everybody in the building is mad at me. But all right, I'm getting off track. Deathloop may have changed my mind on stealth game mechanics. I really love Deathloop.
Okay.
I went into it, like I said, very skeptical. I was not expecting this. People, before I started playing this, were giving it 10 out of 10s. Were saying this is like game of the year. And I was immediately calling bullshit. But this game is so good.
But what makes it that way? I mean, so I haven't played it.
Yeah.
And I've only done little bit of gameplay with Dishonored 1 and 2, but looking at the gameplay of Deathloop, it looked like Dishonored 3 to me.
Yeah.
Like, you got powers, just first person, so what's drawing you to this?
That's very fair. That's a very fair comparison because there is a lot of Dishonored mechanics in it. There are superpowers that you can swap in and out of. There's a lot of emphasis on stealth. The levels are like giant
Sandboxes.
Right. Yeah, they're perfect word. They're giant sandboxes where you can kind of approach stuff however you want to approach it. It's just the very small game design choices that they made really makes or break this. So you play as this guy Colt. He wakes up randomly, really doesn't remember where he's at, why he's there, who he is, or whatever. All of a sudden, there's this other there's a woman who calls you on the radio, and I mean, their relationship is very toxic. She is very, immediately super rude, and you can kind of get this feeling that these two probably slept together.
I didn't see that in the trailer. It's just, this is news.
They get it is very, but the dialogue between them and these whoever they hired to
play. Can you sleep with her in every loop? Or?
Huh? Just to get and that's all right. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. That's another thing I want to point out because immediately when I heard the phrase Deathloop, I assumed that this was going to have some roguelike elements, and it really doesn't. Everything, the levels are actually caringly designed. There is no random generation in anything. The levels are you go into the level, and for the most part, everything is in the same place, unless you go at a different time of day. So, okay, there are 4 levels. And there are 4 quadrants of the day. So there's morning, afternoon, No, it's morning, noon, afternoon, and evening.
Okay.
Depending on what time of day you go to each level, that level has subtle differences and changes. So, like, I don't know, for example, the head of security at this one city, he does not leave until noon. So, if you go in the morning, this door is locked because he's in there.
Okay.
So you gotta like know that, learn that, and come back to be able to investigate this room. And those subtle differences really make each of those four levels feel different enough in each of those quadrants of the day where they feel like different. The four levels feel like four different levels in and of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it seems like it's not a lot of content, there is a lot put into these four levels. Like it's a lot of depth. For me, that's actually a good thing because I really, and we talked about this last week, where I don't like the gimmicky dual sense, feeling every raindrop, feeling every footstep. I think that's stupid.
Okay.
This does not do
I feel
that.
like that would have been amazing in Heavy Rain, though.
Yes. That would have made that game better than it was, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, I love that the DualSense controller is very unintrusive. The one thing that I think stood out for the DualSense was your guns can jam. And it's random and has nothing to do with like player skill or anything. A gun can randomly jam if it's like a shitty gun. The guns have tiers, like most shooters. There's epic guns and legendary and whatever. So the crappy guns can jam, and if it jams, the trigger actually blocks.
So there's like loot.
Yes, it is loot.
Loot.
It is loot, and so the only way to get really good loot is to kill the visionaries. I'm sorry. So there's 8 visionaries, and the point of the game is to kill all 8 visionaries before the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But the problem is there's 4 levels, there's 8 visionaries, and you only have 4 attempts because every time you do a level, a section of the day goes away. So like if it's the morning and I do a level, it is now noon.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So you have to figure out.
I'm glad you said that because that was never explained in any of the.
Yes.
It's just like, how am I being barred from completing this? But now I see it.
And it's so funny because DeathLoop, Sony showed so much of DeathLoop, like to the point where we were tired of seeing it. Mm-hmm. And I still played this game, and there's still so much. It was like the
Justice League film trailer.
Yes. Like, we've seen so much, but we've seen nothing. Yeah. But yeah, so 4 quadrants of the day, every time you go into a level and you leave that level, that day, that quadrant of the day is done. After you go into a level and leave in the evening, that day is now over. Now, the tricky thing is, every day, everybody that dies comes back to life. So that's why you have to kill the 8 visionaries in one day.
Okay.
And that's the loop part. And Colt is just tired of, for some reason, he's tired of being immortal. So he wants to end this loop so he can finally end his pain and die.
I mean, it sounds sad, but he's also a black man.
I can relate.
Yeah, I relate.
I'm happy. Don't call.
I'm rooting for you, Cole.
Nobody call for help. I'm okay. These are jokes. They're jokes, son. But it's like I said, everything I'm saying, it feels so minute. Mm-hmm. But when you actually like get the control in your hand and you experience these things, it's so refreshing. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of surprises in the game too. And like I don't think this is a spoiler because it's such a small part of the game, but it was big to me. Like, you go into this, I went into this level, and for some reason I was just like walking around on the shore, on the beach, and there was like this cave, and I go into the cave, and the cave turns into a lab, and you go into the lab, and it's this evil dude behind this bulletproof glass, and he recognizes you, but Colt has no idea who the hell he is. He's like, Colt, you son of a bitch. I hate your ass. And you remember this room? And Colt's like, yeah, I guess so, whatever. And then he locks the door, and then gas starts going in, and you got to hurry up and solve this mini puzzle. And it just, I'm going down the rabbit hole. But it's those small things like that, those surprises that you don't expect that really remind me a lot of one of my favorite games of all time, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild has a lot of those moments where you're just walking around and you randomly see these things and experience these things that you did not expect. Like the first time in Breath of the Wild where you go to that island and you magically lose all your clothes.
He knows
Do you
in
know
the chat.
Yeah?
And he says, stop spoiling the game. La, 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 la.
There's a lot of Breath of the Wild in If you didn't know that, this Breath of Zelda pops up and no. But yeah, there's a lot of those moments where you're just walking around and something crazy happens. And I love that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And Deathloop does that so much and does it so well. And I really think when I finish it, I might be ready to put it at number 1 on the power ranking. I did not think that was going to.
That's huge. That's huge.
If you know me, you know that like
Because it's not an indie game.
it's not an indie game, and it's not Psychonauts 2, which is like humongous. I didn't think anything was going to top that, and Deathloop a month later has come, and I really think so. I'm going to finish it. I'm like maybe 8 hours in, and I've heard it takes 12 hours to beat. So next week I'll have an answer, but I feel very confident this is going to be number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have the list here. I wish I did.
I have it on my phone. I can say it real quick. It is. Stand by, everybody. Nobody leave.
Nobody make a move.
Nobody freaking. All right. 10 is The Ascent. 9 is It Takes Two. 8 is Little Nightmares 2. 7 is Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. 6 is Knockout City. 5 is Death's Door. 4 is Returnal. 3 is Ratchet and Clank. 2 is Resident Evil Village. And 1 is Psychonauts 2.
Okay.
For
so
now.
Blue Lurk asks, are you in charge of the list or does everyone get a say? So I know part of the answer is that you have to play the game.
Yeah.
So if you have something that this person needs to invest in, tell us in the chat and we can make that part of our plans.
Yes, absolutely. So the list original creation, yes, all those games are games that I've played, but anybody else here, everybody has complete veto power. So like if I said something freaking ridiculous, like I don't know, 12 minutes is number 2, y'all can totally veto me and say like, get that thing out of here. Luckily we didn't have to worry about that. But yeah, absolutely, man.
I'm still swallowing back tears from that 12 minutes reference. Even as a joke, it don't sit well, man.
Oh, that was so weird.
Oh, God.